That's your main point all the time. Water of life, or the bee. Aqua vitae, pushki beha. Zidnaya voda. Anybody from Russia here? No, right? Okay, so I am good with my pronunciation. So, for the love of vodka. Why for the love of vodka? Because these days, for example, many bartenders, many craft cocktail bartenders, and I include myself on that group, at the beginning we were like pushing vodka aside, saying like, oh, vodka and drinks, never. Because I'm a bartender, I like to make drinks with whiskey, with gin, because I have character, I have flavor. And that's not the case. Vodka today has proven to be one of the best spirits in the world when it comes to mixing as well, because actually depends on the bartender how you use this spirit to make a cocktail. And we're gonna see that later on when we talk about drinks. Now also one thing that is important here to know is that vodka is the #1 spirit in the United States. And not only that, it's one of the #1 spirits around the world. People is consuming vodka a lot. Who drinks vodka here? Like vodka? Yeah, of course. What you drink? What do you drink? Whiskey. Good, good. Nothing wrong. Whiskey. Whiskey. Madam?
Brandy.
Only water.
Wine? Yeah, don't be shy. So we don't judge anyone here. Rum. Okay, so you see, it's about preference. At the end of the day, it's about preference, alright? But just so you know, most of the time people start drinking vodka in the younger days, and then as you mature, you get into the drink with character. You start with bourbon whiskey, then you move out to single malts or Scotch whiskeys and single malts, but it's a process. Okay, so we talk about vodka, #1
In United States.
in United States and in the world.
In the world.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Uh-huh. Now, vodka's birthplace. Where does vodka come from? Who was the first country making vodka?
Russia.
Any clue? Russia,
Poland.
Poland.
Ukraine,
North country.
Bulgaria,
French.
Honduras.
No.
Okay. There's still debate between these two countries, Russian and Poland. Uh-huh. But those two countries still fighting today over who made vodka in the first place. And it's a big battle. It's not, you can't say to a Polish guy, oh, the Russians made vodka. You'll be, you're gonna start trouble. And the same thing happens back home. I am from Peru, South America, and we have the same conflict with the people from Chile. And we fight over pisco. And it's a big, huge fight. Like, for example, there was a famous group coming to play, a rock band was playing in Chile before. They were doing a tour in South America. So they played in Chile first, and when they finished their concert, they said to the people in the concert, thank you so much, Chile, capital of the pisco. The next week they have to be in Peru. The presentation was cancelled just because of that, because they mentioned that Chile was the capital of pisco. So you see how big that is, that conflict. So the same thing happens here in Poland and Russia. Now, to go into that one, just one thing that we have to touch, that the word vodka itself is a diminutive of the word voda or woda. In Russian, voda, and in Polish, woda. But as we mentioned before, how the distillation spread around the world because of monks. Because they learned the distillation process, because they translated the text into Latin that was before written in Arabic. So the monks, they spread the knowledge around the world, in different places, especially in Europe, go to place, and they started to spread the knowledge. Now, the method that that were used by the Italian in monasteries specifically for distillation. Pot distillation was the main process before. They were making eau de vie. In one point in history, some Russian monks traveled to Italy to learn about the process of the making of eau de vie, to learn how these monks are making this medicinal drink. Because at the beginning this was medicinal. They didn't make this because they wanted to get drunk. It was for medicinal purposes. That was the beginning of everything. Once they learned this, they came back to Russia, and the whole thing started. They found plenty of water and plenty of grain, and they started to mix the first mix of vodka. They were distilling their grains. First vodkas ever made, they were not made from potato. Some people say, oh, vodkas are made from potato. No, never was the case. It was grain.
Green.
Yeah, grain. Because potato came later on the scene. Potato was discovered first in South America by the Spaniards, because Peru and Bolivia in that part. Spaniards, they found potatoes. Later on, they brought that to Europe and then spread potatoes. So the first vodkas ever made were before made from grain. All right. And we mentioned before, eau de vie equals aquavite, which equals Zizenaya Voda. That gives you a clue already. Zizenaya Voda, or dear little water. So the whole thing started pretty much in Russia. Now, in 1982, Soviet Union was declared the first to have produced vodka, and this was done by an international tribunal. So they gave them the rights. Okay, you made vodka, you won in the court. The Polish were still upset, and they're still debating today. Yeah. But they give more credit to Russia than Poland for inventing the vodka. Now, to go into this, we have to talk about how this thing changed. Now, to talk about this, first we have to mention the famous vodka bell, because this has to do a lot with the places from vodka was first made, and then it spread to the other places that were close by. This is what we call the vodka belt, and in these places we have Russia, Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, Nordic states of Sweden, Norway, Finland, Iceland, and Greenland. Baltic like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Slovakia, and Hungary. Now pay attention to these names, to these countries, because later on we're gonna see these countries making vodka, and then we have to classify vodka in two big groups. So this is gonna help us in for that classification. So that's the famous vodka. You see in this map, do you see the United States?
No.
Do you see places like South America or any other place? No. Just the ones mentioned, right? Russia, Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, and that. That's the vodka belt. The first places where they were making vodka at the beginning. Now, as we mentioned before, it was Russia and Poland that made the vodka. Then later on this moved to Sweden and Estonia. Now they realized it was a big business, because once you made this, you get money from that, right? So the state has to add taxes to that, and then making money for the people. Now, at the beginning, the vodka, just the local people were drinking vodka made from dates and potatoes, okay? But then the vodka made from grain was mostly used for the royalty, for the people with money. They were drinking the best vodka. The rest of the people were drinking like cheap vodka. Yeah? But then came Poland. Poland started making vodka with new techniques and new equipment. And they brought a vodka that was more purified, and a vodka that was better in quality. That's why today we associate vodka with a Polish vodka by being the best vodka in the world. Okay? Now, also at the same time in Russia, there is one character that appeared, one person, the famous Pyotr Smirnov. And pay attention to that name, because that name is going to show later on in history, because he revolutionized the making of vodka. Piotr Smirnov became very wealthy while making his vodka, that in one point of history in Russia, they wanted to kill him because he got hated so much, because he had money and he was making vodka for the royal families only, and the rest of the common people, they hate the guy, they hate that family. In one point of history, he had to flee the country. So Piotr Smirnov flee Russia because they wanted to kill him. He moved to other place known as Turkey. He stayed in Turkey for a while, hiding, and he opened a distillery in Constantinople. Later on, he moved to France and he changed his name to Smirnov, Vladimir Smirnov, but not anymore with a V as you see over there, but with double F, Smirnov.
Smirnov.
So he changed his name when he came to France, trying to make his vodka popular. Sweden came into the scene later on, and when we talk about Sweden, they started making burnt wine, or something that in Swedish you say brandvin. What is brandvin? Basically, you're gonna take your wine and you're gonna boil it, you're gonna burn it, you're gonna distill it basically, and you're gonna get your spirit on the other side. Like we mentioned before, distillation. So they were using this distillation, and they were doing it first with grapes. Grapes, okay? So they were making the vodka, became very popular later on. And then there was one guy who came and made the vodka very popular. His name, Lars Olsson. He made his vodka and he called it Absolute Ren Brandvin, meaning absolutely pure vodka. You see, the Swedish started to dominate the scene. And it was Absolute Vodka that introduced the system of column still. They started to use column still. And you know what happens when you use column still, right? Remember when we talk about Scotch whiskey? If you use pot still, what you get?
Character.
Character. If you use column still, what you get?
Spirit. No character.
No character. Lighter body.
Light.
That's why the vodka has a lighter body. His vodka became very popular.
But you know who is Mendeleev?
Exactly. We come to that point later on with Mendeleev.
Okay.
Yes. When we talk about this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we keep going with that, and then of course the Finns also at the same time started to making vodka. They had a shortage of yeast. Yeah. There was a big drama because they were making so much vodka, and they actually learned to make vodka because they were in Europe and other places in the world, and the people came back home and they learned how to make vodka. So they were making vodkas. Vodka became very popular back home that they ran out of yeast. Later on, they opened a distillery in this place, Koskenkorva, and they made Finland vodka, which is one of the most popular vodkas right now that we see. So you see Sweden Absolute, and Finland, of course, Finland
Finland
vodka.
vodka.
Right? Now, the newcomers on the scene for vodka are, of course, Denmark, Germany, Switzerland, France, and the Netherlands. Now, pay attention to these newcomers because later on we're going to classify them in a group as well. Now, you see in this map here the United States. United States discovered vodka. The first vodka that came to United States was in the year 1934. Just right after Prohibition. Remember there was a period of Prohibition time in America, 1920 to 1933, 1934, where you were not allowed to have alcohol. They were as dry as we are conditioned. So they finished Prohibition, and then at that time, this guy came to the scene. Smirnov vodka, I mean. Now what happened here? Remember when we mentioned this guy that traveled to Turkey and then to France, trying to make his living over there. Well, he didn't succeed in France, and he sold his vodka and his recipe to this guy, Rodolph Kunet. Rodolf Kunev was a Ukrainian guy who bought the rights of the vodka, and then he came to America, 1934. Came to America with his vodka, trying to make a living, but he was almost out of business. At one point, he almost was in bankrupt, and he sold the business to this guy, John G. Martin. Now pay attention to this guy, because this name is gonna show up in the next chapter. Jack G. Morgan. So he started selling this vodka. But the first time they started selling this vodka, they didn't have this cover,
Screw.
this kind of cover, right? This cap. They were using corks that before they were used for whiskey. So still on the corks it was saying whiskey. So they were selling this as white whiskey.
White whiskey.
White whiskey. Started as white whiskey. And you see, if you are in America at that time, you were used to drink before whiskey and gin. So nobody wanted to drink this. It was not popular. So what happened? This guy, Morgan, G. Martin, he came to San Francisco with his vodka. He can't sell his vodka. And then he go to this restaurant called the Cock and Bull restaurant, and he met this guy.
Muslim.
His name, so G. Martin and Jack Morgan. Get together, these two guys. Both of them almost out of business. This guy had so much vodka that nobody wanted to drink, and this guy had so much ginger beer that was not very popular. So these two guys get together and they say, okay, you know what? Don't know what to do now. Have this, not sell it, tell the guy what to do. They were drinking one night, and then they said, okay, let's mix our drinks. Because they were drinking before that, they were drinking whiskey back. What's whiskey back? Back basically is a drink with whiskey, ginger ale, lime. Easy to make, very popular back then. Whiskey, ginger ale, lime, squeeze. That's it. So they were drinking that, ran out of the whiskey, ran out of the ginger ale. They said, okay, let's try my vodka. Let's open my vodka. Let's add my ginger beer. The drink was nice. But this guy, Morgan, he had a girlfriend. The parents of that lady, her parents passed away a while ago. The parents died. And they left her a business of copper. Now you bring in this bar on the other side, you see the decoration that they have. Copper pans, copper pots,
Yeah.
copper cups. You see that?
Yeah. In the
So-
display.
It's on display. It's on display. So they let her that kind of business. And she said to the guys, you know what? You make the drink, cool. But use my copper mug. Serve it on my copper mug. So we're gonna stand out from the other drinks. And they serve the drink in that copper mug. And they call it the Moscow Mule. Now, why they call it the Moscow Mule? Because when you were selling this drink, people got familiar with this spirit. They used to call it the white whiskey, the white stuff, the thing from Russia, the Moscow thing, the Moscow drink, the Moscow. And they call it mule because if you have 2 or 3 of these, it's gonna kick you. That's why they call it Moscow Mule, because it kicks like a mule, they say. So they made the drink, and the ice, the limes, and everything ready, copper mug. And remember, at that time, there was no internet, no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, nothing like we have today. Today you have a beer here, take a picture, upload it, everyone is gonna see it. All your friends back home, friends from anywhere in the world, they're gonna see it, they're gonna comment, give you a like. Yeah? At that time, nobody's gonna see that. So what these guys did, actually, genius at that time, they go to one bar and they said to the bartender, hey, Georgie, can you please make a Moscow Mule? Because in the other bar they are making Moscow Mules and it's selling like pancakes. So Georgie would say, yeah, sure, what's in it? Vodka, ginger beer, lime, copper mug. Georgie makes the drink. And I take a picture with my Polaroid camera. Get a picture, say, thank you, Georgie. Then I move to the next bar. When I come to another bar and I say, hey Hector, can you please make the Moscow Mule? Hector will say, yeah, what's in it? Vodka, ginger beer, lime, here's my copper mug. And he's gonna make it. I'll take a picture of him. And then I move to the next bar and to the next one and the next one. And Moscow Mule became one of the most popular drinks at that time in America. Yeah? Celebrities were drinking Moscow Mules. So Moscow Mule is one of those drinks that made vodka popular in America. Yeah? This is the drink that saved vodka, the brand that saved vodka. So they made a drink. It was cool, working 1940s, 1950s, 60s, and there was a decline. Moscow Mule went to the bottom, almost disappearing from history. You know why? Because during the 60s and 70s, something happened, something that we know today as the dark age of mixology. Why? Because mixers appear on the market. Sweet and sour, pineapple juice that comes from a can, orange juice that comes from cartons. All the juices were coming already processed. Yeah? So if you use sweet and sour for this Moscow Mule, what's gonna happen?
Vodka soda.
It's gonna kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With sweet and sour, you kill it. Too sweet. So these drinks were like forgotten in history. But like 5 years ago or so, there was one lady who's very popular on TV and she has a show. So she was spotted on her show drinking Moscow Mules. Her name? Oprah Winfrey. Oprah was drinking on her shows Moscow Mules, and the drink became popular again.
Popular again.
Now everyone is making Moscow Mules, and they're bringing back the copper mugs, they are bringing back the fresh ingredients again. And Moscow Mule is back on the scene. Yeah, that's just to mention this drink. Another drink that, so we said before that this was the first vodka coming to the United States, right? And then came the flavored vodkas. You know which one is the first flavored vodka that came to the United States?
Local.
Absolute, yes, absolute. It was absolute, but the flavor. Come on, easy one. Flavor. You said citron. You said orange. Which flavor? Apple. Which flavor you think was the first one to hit American shores?
Lime? No.
Orange.
Lime, orange.
Grape.
Pepper?
Pepper.
Pepper.
Absolute pepper was the first flavored vodka to came into the market. Yeah. And then the whole thing started. From there, many flavors came, and one of those flavors was the famous citron vodka,
Citron.
which was responsible for making the famous drink that we know today, vodka-based, as Cosmopolitan. Yeah, Cosmopolitan made very popular in the 60s, 70s, 80s. There was debate between two people who made the Cosmopolitan. One lady claimed that she made it, Cheryl. She said, I made a Cosmo. Later on came this guy, Toby Cecchini, who's now could now get the credit for making the first Cosmopolitan. And by the way, bartenders hate him because he made that drink. Because now in the community of craft cocktails, Cosmopolitan is seen like a low-class drink that anybody can make. Nothing, all artificial. Cranberry juice and lime coriander, lime cordial. So, when Toby Cecchini made the Cosmopolitan, they asked him later on, why you made this drink? And his first answer was, sorry guys, I just got an inspiration on a shooter, on a drink, and I just add cranberry juice to it, and it became popular. You know which drink was that? That shooter, that shot.
Kamikaze?
Exactly. Take a kamikaze, add cranberry juice, and you have a Cosmopolitan. That was it, guys. Easy.
Why kamikaze?
Kamikaze. Yeah.
This is airplane, yeah?
Vodka. Yeah, kamikaze.
What was kamikaze? The airplane, yeah? The word.
Yeah, it was named after the Japanese.
Japanese, yeah.
After the Japanese, who
No, it was this
Pearl
Hawaii.
Harbor. What like Pearl
In
Harbor.
Hawaii, yeah.
And they came
Yeah.
in the little planes. And before, and before they smashed this plane, because they ran out of gas and everything. They said, kamikaze, and their mission was to destroy those ships. Kamikaze, that was it. But you see, that's part of history. Kamikaze, the day it became cosmopolitan. And that's just to know about that famous vodka. It's now #1 selling in the world. Now let's move to the next chapter now. Moscow Mule, we talk about the Moscow Mule, of course. And now the vodkas that we carry on board. Now this is the time to separate these vodkas. Remember I mentioned before there is 2 types of vodka are classified in 2 big groups. Vodka from the old world and vodkas from the new world. The vodkas from the old world are the vodkas that come from the vodka belt. Remember we mentioned the vodka belt? Russia, Poland, Lithuania,
Ukraine, Bulgaria,
also Estonia. Yes, yeah, that's vodka from the old world. Vodka from the new world are the newcomers on the scene, like United States, France, Italy, and we're gonna see that as we go. So Russia, it's a vodka from the old world, right?
All right.
And by the way, still vodka. Now all the vodkas they're gonna claim on the ingredient. They say because to make a vodka you need first water,
Water.
your yeast. You need also could be your raw material. Raw material can be grain, potato, grapes,
Literally everything.
corn, beet, even sugar cane. Alright, so vodka can be made pretty much from anything. So, still vodka, Russia, old world. Chopin, made in Poland. This vodka is from the potato,
Potato.
but it's from the old world or new world?
Old world.
Old world vodka. Below 42, coming from New Zealand. This vodka is classified as vodka from the new world. Battery. Non te,